Tensions in the Middle East have rarely been higher. Following a series of brazen attacks and covert operations, a wave of speculation has engulfed international headlines. Has Israel begun a campaign of direct reprisals inside Iran? And are the highest echelons of Iranian leadership now within Israeli? For decades, the Israel-Iran rivalry simmered through proxies, threats, and limited escalation, but recent events suggest a new and more dangerous chapter may be unfolding. To understand the gravity of this moment, it's important to look at how the conflict arrived at this point. The Israeli-Iranian shadow war is more than a contest of militaries. It's a clash of worldviews and regional ambitions. Since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iran's leaders, spearheaded by figures like Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, have pledged unwavering opposition to Israel's right to exist. Meanwhile, Israel has treated Iran's pursuit of regional influence and, especially its advancing nuclear, existential threats. Over the years, each side has struck at the other, mostly through intermediaries. Iran funds and arms groups across the region, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to militias in Syria and Yemen, often targeting Israeli interests or allies. Israel, on the other hand, has waged a relentless campaign of sabotage against Iranian assets. Mysterious explosions at nuclear sites, the assassination of key scientists, and cyber attacks designed to cripple infrastructure and slow Iran's progress. But for all their intensity, these operations generally aimed at impeding capabilities, not directly challenging Iran's core leadership. That may be changing. Recent attacks in Tehran and across Iran's territory have raised the specter of a new Israeli strategy, one that does not confine itself to the shadows or the periphery. Instead, it appears to target the very heart of Iranian power, sending a clear message to the ruling elite. When explosions rock sites near sensitive government buildings, and when drone strikes are reported close to the homes of high-ranking officials, it's hard to mistake the intent. The threat is no longer just to Iran's nuclear program, but to the system that enables ether leadership itself. International observers are left to wonder, is Israel now signaling an unprecedented willingness to hold figures like Ayatollah Khamenei personally accountable for Irani's policies? From Jerusalem's perspective, harsher measures may seem necessary following recent escalations. Iranian proxies have stepped up their attacks on Israeli and allied interests, and attempts on Israeli soil have grown more ambitious. The recent drone and missile barrages directed at Israeli sites cross a line that, in Israeli doctrine, can prompt a powerful response. In turn, the government in Tehran finds itself on high alert. For decades, the Israeli threat was mostly discussed in terms of airplanes, cyber strikes, and regionally based sabotage, but a direct assault on the capital or signals. That Khamenei and his inner circle were now potential targets represents a qualitative shift. Security is tightened at sensitive government complexes. Anti-aircraft batteries are deployed closer to the halls of power. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard issues warnings of severe consequences for any actor attempting to destabilize the leadership. This sudden turn has regional and global powers scrambling to assess their own red lines. The United States, while historically supportive of Israel's security, worries about a conflict spiraling out of control, ensnaring U.S. interests and forces across the Middle East. Russia and China, both increasingly close to Tehran, issue calls for restraint, championing diplomatic solutions, while quietly reinforcing their own military and intelligence ties with Iran. Inside Iran, the sense of vulnerability is palpable. For ordinary Iranians, already suffering under economic hardship and political repression, the prospect of a wider war is grim. Tehran's leadership, however, frames the threat as evidence of Israel's desperation. They claim that acts of terrorism can never unseat the revolution or disrupt national unity. But behind the rhetoric, there's little doubt that the specter of direct attacks on government leaders is daunting. And what would it actually mean if Israel chose to openly target Iran's supreme leader? Few states in modern history have declared such a policy, not just against an adversary's military or infrastructure, but its very leadership. Legal and strategic debates would fill the halls of power from Tel Aviv to Washington, sparking discussions of international law, reprisals, and the potential for uncontrollable escalation. For Israel, the strategy may be intended as deterrence through spectacular risk, to force Iran's hand, to sow division among its leaders, or to demonstrate that nowhere is truly safe for those who, in Israel's eyes, perpetuate threats. The Iranian response will likely involve a blend of overt military action, covert retaliation, and, perhaps most dangerously, efforts to expand the conflict through surrogates and allies across the region. The world now watches for the next move. Will a new front open in an already volatile region? Or will the logic of survival constrain both sides from the unthinkable? The stakes are immense, not only for Israel and Iran, but for the stability of the entire Middle East. As the shadows grow shorter and the threats grow more direct, the region stands on the brink of a confrontation that could reshape the balance of power for years to come.